So I haven't had a desktop computer in over 10 years. All I've had is laptops, but I recently picked up a desktop computer specifically to make and edit these videos. But considering I haven't had one in such a long time, I don't have any type of computer desk or workstation. So I'm going to fix that today, and I'm going to be building the simplest desk imaginable, or at least that I can imagine, all out of 2x4s and 1/2 inch plywood. And that's going to be basically it. We're going to throw a quick finish on it, a stain, and a quick top coat on it, and we're going to call it done. In addition to the desk, I'm also going to be building a very, very simple monitor stand just to elevate the actual monitor itself up off of the desk. And I'm going to be building that out of a single board. And so all of this is super simple. Hopefully it turns out well. So let's get started on it. Okay, so I looked up the average height for a computer desk, and the results that came up were basically somewhere in the realm of 28 to 30 inches. That was kind of the average that Google gave me. And so, in order to accomplish that, so I have these 2x4s here, which are roughly 4 feet long. They're a little under 4 feet. These were 4x8s or 2x4x8s, and I had them cut in half. And so they're roughly 4 feet long. And so I think in order to get 30 inches as far as our height, I think that the best way to go for something like this, because we have to keep into account that our tabletop is going to add, 1/2 inch, because it's 1/2 inch plywood. And so if we cut this at like 29.5 inches, and then that other 1/2 inch will be made up in order to get us to roughly 30 inches. And again, we're not looking for perfect, just looking for good enough. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark these at 29.5 inches, and then cut 4 of these down, and then we'll discuss what we're going to do after that. So here I just have a half sheet of the 4x8 plywood, 1/2 inch, and this has just already been cut in half. And so in reality, what we should have here is a 4 foot by 4 foot square. With this being our tabletop, again, we're going to make this a 4 foot by 2 foot tabletop to where it's not going to be crazy big, but it's going to be big enough. So since this is going to be a tabletop, I don't want, or I want to limit as much tear out as possible. So I went ahead and threw a stretch of duct or a stretch of masking tape down the center. Um, I already measured and I already drew a line, but I'll show you what I did. All that I did was, I know that this is 4 feet long. So all I have to do is come to the 24-inch mark and mark that on both sides, and then throw a line at my 24-inch mark, and then essentially just connect it, throw a straight edge on there, connect it. You can barely see the pencil on the tape, but I can see it enough, so I think we'll be good. So now we just need to cut it out. And remember, you can cut it, most of it like this, but then once you get close, it's going to cave in on itself and snap. So whenever you get close, flip it and like. All right. It may not look like it, but I have that piece, 1/2 inch piece of plywood sitting on top of the bench here. These are the 4 legs that we just cut out. I'm just doing a general mock-up of kind of what I'm thinking we may want to do here. So obviously these are the legs. We need support going from here to here on the sides, here to here on the front and back. And then we're also going to do the exact same support links down at the bottom going around, not at the very bottom, but just to add a little bit more stability for everything. And so, right now at this stage, what we need to do is measure these areas. You could measure these and do some subtraction and everything. I'm just going to eyeball it, uh, leave these up here, put the tape measure up there, and just kind of see where we're at with everything. Same thing with this side going this way. And then we're going to start putting everything together. So this is measuring right at about 17 inches. See what this side is saying. This side is right at that 17 inches mark too. It's a little over 17 inches, so like 17 and a quarter, but I think 17 is going to get us where we need to be. And then from here, right about 45, somewhere in that range, we'll need 4 pieces that are 45 inches and then 4 pieces that are 17 inches. Um, this is the underside of the table anyway, so we need 4 at 45 inches and 4 at 17 inches. And then that'll give us all of our cross supports to sturdy this thing up. And then we'll start getting that. So I'm going to take all this down, start cutting down our other pieces. 4 pieces at 45, 4 pieces at 17. Let's do it. So now that we have all these pieces cut out, you can see we have a lot of rough edges, rough sides. And so before we start putting anything together, I'm just going to go through, knock down the rough edges, give a light sand to each of the faces of each of these. Not going to go crazy with it. At most, we're probably going to do like 120, 180, somewhere in there, around the corners and on the faces and sides. So I'm going to get that knocked out real quick, and then we'll start somewhat piecing this all together. Okay, so I have a confession to make. I already built this entire thing, and I did not like it. I put it together in a fashion that I don't think that it's very strong. I don't think that and it's a computer desk. I don't need it to be exceptionally strong, but I just don't like the way that it all came together. And so what I did was, I'm just going to scrap it and start over, basically. The wood that you see before you is not the same wood in the previous videos, but it is the exact same dimensions. Everything up to this point, I've done the exact same as far as cutting it, sanding it down, and everything to this point. And so instead of what I was doing beforehand, we are going to be putting this together with pocket holes. I think that pocket holes and glue is going to be a better way to go about putting this together in the fashion that I'm doing it. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, up until today, have not owned a pocket hole jig and have not used said pocket holes. I briefly did a test on a couple scrap pieces of 2x4 and it seemed to work out okay. So we're just going to send it. We're going to start with putting the middle support or the side support pieces with the legs, and then we're going to go back in and put the front and back supports in on the top and bottom, and then one more back support on the back on the bottom. So let's get these set up, clamp to the bench, and then we'll start putting pocket holes in and start putting this thing together, hopefully correctly this time. So we'll see. Maybe it'll work. Okay, so it looks like there's a lot going on here. Let me explain kind of what I have set up. So I have the 2 legs here, the side support. I have this ruler just acting as a straight edge. I have that clamped to the bench, just so I could butt these up against it and just kind of have a straight line going across. And then I have the pocket holes in the interior portion of the side support pieces. And I also put wood glue on the ends of this piece. I know that putting wood glue on end pieces is it soaks up a lot of it, but any extra strength that we can get would be good. So wood glue. Now we're going to put pocket holes in. And then I have a clamp running across the end here just to keep everything sucked up together. And I have one more additional one on this piece of wood here just to kind of keep it to the end of the table. So we're just going to run the pocket screws in and hope that it works. Again, I've never really done this before, so we'll see. Looks a little bit off. Not enough for me to be worried about it though. I have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. It feels stuck together. Good enough for me. So now we're gonna put the bottom support in. I don't really know how far I want to go with this. I don't know. 4 inches looks pretty good. There may be a certain number you're supposed to do bottom supports on. Put some wood glue on this one too. Pocket screw it in, and then we'll do the same thing for the other side. I'm not very good at pocket holes, I have learned. They're in there. I do think that it's sturdier than last time, but as you can see, we have a pretty good gap from where it was lying down on the table. Some of that is probably due to the boards not being 100% square or whatever, but we still have a good amount of bite in there and everything, so I think we'll be okay. But ideally, you would make sure that these are square. But all right, I'm gonna get the other side done in the exact same manner, and then we'll move on. Now, for the longer boards, we're going to be putting those in with pocket holes on the end as well, connecting it to the rest of the frame, but we're also going to be connecting this to the tabletop. I've gone through a few renditions on how I would actually connect this to a tabletop. Everything from glue and brad nails to just screwing it from the top down. But I think that I'm gonna go ahead and screw it from the bottom up using pocket holes. Since I have the jig out and everything, I might as well use it. And I don't know, with this being my first time using pocket holes, I really don't know if this is the correct way to do it. It's just a matter of I'm just gonna keep the exact same settings on my pocket hole jig uh, as if I was drilling in, and then I'm just gonna use smaller screws. So hopefully that works, and we don't blast right through the half-inch sheet of plywood on top. But if we do, we can always fill it in. It ain't that big of a deal. But I think I'm gonna try this first. So I'm gonna put pocket holes in both ends, and then probably on the sides, maybe do 3 spread out roughly evenly. Uh, so yeah, we're gonna do that right now. So yeah, we have 2 on the end, and then 1, 2, 3 that are gonna be going up into the table, and then 2 more on the end right here. We're gonna do this for one more board, the exact same process, 2 on the end, 3 in the middle, and then we're on the final board, since it's gonna be on the bottom and not connecting to the tabletop, don't have to do these 3, just gonna do these 2 on each end. That way we can connect it to the rest of the frame. Also, since we didn't do it already, and we're gonna be connecting the top with the pocket holes, I'm gonna go ahead and come back through and put 2 kind of right about there and right about there, just so we can secure it on the sides as well. Okay, so we have all of the holes drilled and we're ready to start putting the side pieces in. I have them roughly up here, but it's pretty straightforward. Fit them up. I have 2 clamps just holding the end pieces to the edge of the table, and yeah, screw into each side. I'm going to apply wood glue to both ends just like we did for these pieces, and then screw them in. And then we'll add the back piece, and then we'll start putting on the top. I would call that a moderate success. Let's do the other side. Before we put the top on, let's go ahead and put the back bottom support on. Remember, this is going to be the front to where you slide in underneath it. And so we'll put this along the back side here, and then we'll move on to setting the top on it. Same thing, glue, pocket screws. Before we put the top on, I'm going to go ahead and I have the half sheet of plywood sitting on top here. I'm going to go ahead and sand down the edges of the bottom part, and then just a rough, quick sand of the bottom. Not looking for anything crazy here. And then we'll do the actual sanding once it's already on and stuck down and everything. But rough sand, and then we'll put it on top. Okay, things are not lining up 100%, but we're just going to send it. So like I said, I have some shorter screws than what I used for connecting the 2x4s together. So we're going to try these out and hope that it doesn't tear through. I don't even know where to start. Would it be wise to check and make sure these aren't blowing through before doing all of these? Yes, it would be. Well, let's take the clamps off and see if one, the screws blew through, two, they're actually holding anything. Well, I don't feel any yet. I don't think they blew through. I also don't think that they got a lot of compressive force on the plywood itself, but as long as it's on there, I don't care. I do think that it's secured. I just don't like how much play it has in it, especially in the corners. The last pocket hole is right here, and then the other one is right here. And so from here to here, on this corner, there's nothing holding it down. And so I'm just going to clamp the corners, put a couple brad nails in here, and hope that that keeps it down. It probably would have been a good idea to use wood glue on something like this, because the brad nails aren't really going to be structurally supporting it, but I'm hoping that the screws are going to keep it on top, and maybe the brad nails will keep it, the corners down at least. Yeah, I think that looks okay. So I'm going to do that to all the corners. Okay, so as you can see, this is pretty rough with how that it's coming along, but we'll see if we can kind of salvage it, make it somewhat presentable. Again, I'm not doing this to be entered into a woodworking contest or anything. I'm just trying to get a usable desk that I feel good working on. Also, you can see on this edge, we got a good amount of the frame sticking out past the plywood. And then on this edge, it's fairly clean and flush. I think that a lot of that is coming from the incongruencies in the frame, as well as the cut on this. It may not have been 100% perfect or anything, but we're just gonna take some 120 grit, go around the entire edge, try to get it flush in areas where we can. In areas where we can't, try to get it as close as possible. It's coming along. It doesn't look great, but we're getting there. Okay, so I went through, sanded the edges, just a rough sand. I didn't do anything crazy. We'll come back and kind of polish it up a little bit. But as you can see, we didn't really make a big difference, but I just kind of tapered these ends where they're not kind of lining up. I tried to taper them as best as I could. Again, I'm not super worried about how this looks. It's more of a function thing. And so, I want it to look okay. I don't want it to look terrible. But as long as it functions, we'll be doing good. Now, as far as sanding the top, I'm gonna do that after I apply this DAP plastic wood just to these spots here where we have these little tiny holes from our brad nails. There's also a couple spots in the plywood itself where there's just some voids present. So I'm gonna go through and fill those in too. As far as the pocket holes, you can go fill those in if you want to. I had thought about doing that, but I don't think that I'm going to, just in case I ever want to take this apart for whatever reason. I don't want to have those completely filled in. I did on the previous one that I built. I filled in all the holes, and that was a mistake because I got to the end and I didn't like it. And now I can't really take it apart without drilling out all the wood filler. So I'm going to leave the pocket holes as they are, put the wood filler in the brad nail holes, fill in a couple of these voids in the plywood itself, let that cure up, and then we'll actually sand the top probably up to about 220. But let's do this first. Now you may be asking yourself, why are you using DAP plastic wood rather than other wood fillers? I don't have a good reason. I just am. Well, while we are waiting for things to dry, I say let's move on to the second piece of this project, which involves this. This is going to be a monitor stand. Uh, I think it's going to be pretty simple. All I'm going to do is kind of measure out how big I want it to be, cut two pieces to be kind of the stand of it, and then pocket hole them together, and that's going to be it, basically. Um, I believe that this was a 2x8x6 board, so, or sorry, 1x8x6 board. So I think it was 1 inch thick, 8 inches wide. So this is actually saying 9 1/4 wide. So I don't know what that actually equates to when you're looking at it at the Home Depot, but our desktop is the exact same size as my bench top here. And so I'm just going to kind of guess 2 feet would give us about that, which I think is a little short. 3 feet would give us about that. That looks okay. So I think I'm going to do 3 feet as far as the length. And then the risers, I don't know what the typical riser height or monitor stand height is typically. Ideally, I would wait until I finished everything on that and then sat down and looked and saw exactly what felt comfortable for me. But I'm impatient and I just kind of want to get it done. So, because I think 6 inches is going to be roughly the spot that we need to go. And this is 1 inch tall, so we're actually going to be at 7 inches once it's all said and done. Or we could go a little bit shorter at 4 inches, and then we'd be sitting at 5 inches once it's done. Why don't we just meet in the middle? Go at 5 inches, and then total height will be about 6 inches once this is laid on top of it. Okay, I'm gonna cut this out. Okay, so 3 feet has been surgically removed. Now 5 inches off of this, and then we'll cut this section out just like that. So we have one 5 inch piece. Now we just have to measure and cut one more 5 inch piece, just like that. And this can go over here. And so now we have the basics of our monitor stand. I think that doesn't look too bad right there. For 3 rough cuts, looks pretty good to me. Let me clean these up with a sander, just knock the edges off. This is already fairly clean on the wood, but I'll probably go ahead and hit it with just some 220 on both sides. Same thing with these. Clean up the edges, hit the faces with some 120, and then we'll measure out where we're going to put everything. All right, so now we have these 2 boards here, and we're just going to put pocket holes in them. Pretty straightforward. There we go. A little off, but we'll be all right. Let's do the other one. All right, there we go. Now we just got to join everything together. So all I've done here is I have the top board face down, and then I have these 2 about to screw in the pocket holes on the inside portions. I also have these clamped. I already put some glue on the bottom of these just to help secure them a little bit more. And now we're just gonna screw them in basically. Oh, and I also, if you can see on the ends here, I made a mark at 12 inches and a mark at 24 inches, or 12 inches going from this end and then 12 inches coming from this end. I made the same mark on both edges of the board, and then I just eyeballed roughly center of each of these. That way I get them relatively straight and relatively evenly spaced out. So I think I need to go back with shorter screws because these are punching through the top. So I don't think that these are going to work, but I'm going to leave them in for now, replace one at a time. So these are about a 1/4 inch shorter. So let's see. It's stripped. It is stripped. So essentially what we're going to have to do is re-drill these pocket holes and use the smaller screws because the bigger screws are too big and they already stripped it. So no biggie. We'll just go back through and kind of next to these re-drill some pocket holes and then put them on here and use the same method, just doing it a little bit differently. Be all right. And there we go. Now we have a monitor stand, and yeah, I think that's gonna look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. This board is a little bit angled, but I don't want to go back and straighten it up. I would recommend that you do it. As far as balance, I mean, obviously, if you load up a bunch of weight on one side, it's gonna topple. But in the middle, I feel like it's pretty secure. Hello, me from the future. So after messing with it a little bit, I realized that having them at the 12-inch mark was a little bit too wobbly. So what I ended up doing was instead of being at the 12-inch mark, I just slid them out to where we were 6 inches away from the edge on both sides here. And so now it's a lot more stable. Yeah, we're losing some support in the middle, but I think this is going to be a lot more stable and give us the results that we're basically looking for. So, all right, so I let the wood filler dry. It's fairly dry. It's kind of powdery right now, but I'm going to go ahead and sand it down. And again, I did the brad hole nails, and I also patched up a couple spots on the front. And so I'm going to go through everything with 120 grit sandpaper. I haven't sanded the top of this at all yet, so we're going to sand this with 120 grit, and then we're going to come back and do 220 on top of it. So, okay, developments have developed. It is time to stain. I think I got everything ready to go. All of the wood filler that we used is cured, sanded down. Tabletop is sanded to 220 grit. I say sanded to 220. It's more like generally got it smooth with 220 rather than I actually made sure I went through the entire thing. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of ready just to be done, and I need this desk. So we're gonna stain it. We're gonna be using Bare fast drying water-based wood stain. Why are we using this? Just because I don't have a good reason. Dark walnut. So let's pop this open, see what we can do with it. I also have a plastic sheet down just to make sure that the stain doesn't hit the concrete and mess it up. And you know, they always say test your stain on a scrap piece of wood that is the same as your project beforehand to ensure that it's going to do what you want it to do. And also test stain in an inconspicuous area before you do the entire project just to make sure that it is performing the way that you want it to perform. I have never done that. So here we go. I am going to stop occasionally and wipe off the excess stain just because I don't want it to dry too much. I think that looks pretty good. Let's keep going. There's a pretty clear line where the first part dried and then the second part is drying. I'm gonna see what that looks like after this part is dried, but I'm liking the color overall, so I'm just gonna keep going. I'm actually gonna stain the entire thing, the 2x4s and everything, and so I'm just gonna keep rocking and rolling, get this all knocked out, and then I'll check back with you once everything is kind of dried and we're ready to potentially do another coat. So it's been a little while. I've had some stuff come up, and so this project kind of got put on the back burner. But I finally got it finished up, at least to the point where I think that it's adequate or good enough. And so um, basically, what I've done up to this point, obviously, we did the staining and everything, and then I went back with some polyacrylic just because that's what I had left over, and I didn't want to go out and buy something completely different. And the stain that we used was water-based, and so putting a water-based finish on it, I felt like that was appropriate. And so I went through the entire thing, put a couple coats on the desk, and then let it dry in between. And it's been over a week since we put our last coat on there. I think I put 2 coats on this just because I didn't feel like doing any more. I think that they recommend doing 3 to 4 on the back of the polyacrylic can, but I just put 2 coats on there. I wasn't super worried about it. The finish came out okay, nothing crazy, but it's all right. As far as the monitor stand goes, I just spray painted it black. It was a can of paint that I had lying around, and I didn't feel like going out and buying a brand new, a specific paint or anything. It was just a Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one. It looks fine, nothing crazy. Yeah, it is what it is. So I'm not over the moon about it, but it's gonna do the job for what I need it to do. But yeah, this is the desk. It's finished, and Is it perfect? No. Is it gonna do the job? I guess we'll wait and see. So here we are at the desk, and it's been working just fine. I've been using it for a couple of weeks now, and I I I I've really enjoyed it, and I don't see any issues with it. Um, the monitor stand and the desk height and everything has been exactly where I need it to be. For me personally, if you see under here, also I got a cheap little cabinet light. It's battery operated that I just used some those double side sticky command strips and just stuck it up underneath here. I didn't screw into the board or anything, but um, just adds another level of functionality to the desk. And so, yeah, overall, I'm really, really happy with this. I'm going to call it a really good success. And again, I don't expect this to be around for generations to come. I just needed a computer desk, and this is functioning as one perfectly. And so yeah. If you like the video, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you want to check out any of the other builds that I've done up to this point, I'll have a few of them linked down below. Also, they'll be available on the channel. So there'll be more projects in the future, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.